On a calm Sunday morning, thousands of American sailors believed they were safe. Battleships rested quietly in the harbor, aircraft lined the runways, and families were beginning another peaceful day. Then, without warning, the sky filled with the roar of engines. Within minutes, explosions shook the island, smoke covered the horizon, and one of the most powerful navies in the world was caught completely off guard. The attack on Pearl Harbor lasted less than 2 hours, but its consequences would reshape the course of history. How did Japan pull off one of the most daring surprise attacks ever launched, and why did it change the world forever? To understand Pearl Harbor, we have to go back several years. During the 1930s, Japan was rapidly expanding across Asia. Its leaders believed that controlling more land and resources was essential for the country's future. They invaded parts of China and later moved into French Indochina, alarming both Britain and the United States. America viewed Japan's expansion as a threat to stability in the Pacific and responded with increasingly harsh economic sanctions. The most damaging measure was an oil embargo. Japan imported most of its oil, and without it, its military machine would eventually grind to a halt. Japanese leaders faced a difficult choice. They could withdraw from the territories they had conquered or seize new resource-rich regions before their fuel supplies ran out. Instead of backing down, they prepared for war. But there was one enormous obstacle. The United States Pacific Fleet, based at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, stood directly in the way of Japan's plans. If America intervened, Japan's campaign across Southeast Asia could collapse before it truly began. Japanese military planners believed they needed a single, devastating blow that would cripple the U.S. Navy long enough for Japan to secure its objectives. The architect of this bold strategy was Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. Ironically, Yamamoto understood America's industrial strength better than many of his own colleagues. He knew Japan could not win a long war against the United States. His only hope was to strike so hard that America would hesitate to fight. It was an enormous gamble. For months, Japanese pilots trained relentlessly. They practiced flying at extremely low altitudes, coordinated attacks on moving ships, and perfected the use of specially modified torpedoes that could operate in the shallow waters of Pearl Harbor. Meanwhile, a powerful fleet of 6 aircraft carriers quietly assembled in northern Japan. In late November 1941, the task force slipped into the icy North Pacific. Maintaining complete radio silence, it sailed thousands of kilometers across open ocean, carefully avoiding commercial shipping lanes. Even as diplomatic negotiations between Washington and Tokyo continued, the attack force was already moving toward Hawaii. Then came the morning of December 7, 1941. Just before 8 a.m., the first wave of Japanese aircraft appeared over Oahu. Many Americans initially mistook them for friendly planes. Seconds later, bombs began falling. The opening targets were American airfields. Japanese commanders wanted to destroy aircraft before they could get into the sky. Fighters, bombers, and training planes were parked wingtip to protect them from sabotage, but that arrangement made them perfect targets from the air. Within minutes, dozens of aircraft were destroyed before their engines could even start. At the same time, torpedo bombers descended toward Battleship Row. Massive American battleships lay anchored side by side, presenting an easy target. Torpedoes slammed into their hulls while armor-piercing bombs exploded on their decks. One ship suffered more than any other. The USS Arizona was struck by a bomb that detonated its forward ammunition magazine. The resulting explosion tore the battleship apart in seconds. More than 1,100 sailors and Marines were killed aboard the vessel, making it the deadliest single loss of life during the attack. Even today, the wreck remains beneath the waters of Pearl Harbor as a memorial to those who never escaped. As chaos spread across the harbor, anti-aircraft crews scrambled into action. Thick black smoke filled the sky while sailors desperately tried to save burning ships. Some vessels managed to return fire, but confusion and surprise made organized resistance almost impossible. About an hour after the first assault, a second wave of Japanese aircraft arrived. This attack focused on completing the destruction of damaged ships, airfields, and military facilities. By then, the defenders were better prepared, and Japanese losses increased. Even so, the damage had already been done. Yet despite the scale of the attack, several critical targets escaped destruction. America's aircraft carriers were not in the harbor that morning. Fuel storage facilities, repair yards, and submarine bases also remained largely untouched. These overlooked assets would prove far more valuable than anyone realized at the time. After less than 2 hours, the Japanese aircraft turned back toward their carriers and disappeared into the Pacific. The destruction was staggering. More than 2,400 Americans were killed, and over 1,000 were wounded. 8 battleships were damaged or sunk, hundreds of aircraft were destroyed, and military installations across Oahu had suffered severe damage. For the United States, it was one of the darkest days in its history. But Japan had achieved only a tactical victory. The following day, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed Congress, calling December 7th a date which will live in infamy. His speech lasted only a few minutes, yet it united the nation. Congress declared war on Japan with overwhelming support. Days later, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States, transforming what had been separate conflicts into a truly global war. America's enormous industrial capacity soon became its greatest weapon. Shipyards worked around the clock. Factories that had once produced automobiles began building tanks, aircraft, and warships at astonishing speed. Millions of Americans joined the armed forces or supported the war effort at home. The attack intended to weaken the United States had instead awakened one of the greatest military mobilizations in history. In the months that followed, American forces gradually shifted from defense to offense. Victories at Midway, Guadalcanal, and countless battles across the Pacific slowly pushed Japan back. The aircraft carriers that had escaped Pearl Harbor became the backbone of this campaign, proving that naval aviation, not battleships, would dominate modern warfare. Pearl Harbor also changed military thinking forever. It demonstrated that air power could cripple even the strongest fleet without a formal declaration of war. Nations around the world re-examined their defenses, intelligence systems, and naval strategies. The attack marked the end of one era of warfare and the beginning of another. Today, the quiet waters of Pearl Harbor hide the remains of ships that witnessed one of history's most dramatic mornings. Visitors from around the world come to remember not only the lives lost but also the lessons learned. Pearl Harbor was more than a surprise attack. It was the moment that pulled the United States fully into World War II, altered the balance of global power, and changed the 20th century forever. History often turns on a single morning. On December 7, 1941, the world changed before breakfast, and its consequences are still felt today.